Good morning. I just wanted to give a quick introduction. I'm Nadia Schimmel-Cruz. I'm the leave manager here at UF. Thank you guys for joining us today. My director, Shannon Edwards, is going to be presenting. This meeting is going to be recorded though, so I did just want to make everybody aware that I believe it's already started recording the presentation. So thank you for joining us.
Nadia, do you want to wait a couple minutes before we get started, or
What do you think, Kat? Do you think we'll still have a few folks joining us? Okay.
I think we can go ahead and get started.
And if you guys have any questions, if you want to ask them in the chat, I'm going to be manning the chat button, so I'll respond to you as quickly as I can.
And Nadia, if you could give me the permission to share my screen.
Oh, absolutely. You should be all set now.
Thank you so much. I hope everybody can see that. Well, good morning. I'm Shannon Edwards, and it's nice to see you all, at least on Zoom. I'm the Director of Benefits, and I am going to come and talk to you today about the changes to leave, but I have an amazing team. We're called the HR Initiatives team, so at the end of this presentation, you'll see an email address for us, and there are 4 of us that are on this HR Initiatives team who field the questions and want to make sure you have all of the answers. So I encourage you throughout this presentation to submit any questions you may have in the chat, or send us an email through the HR Initiatives email group. What we learned last week, I was fielding all the questions last week when Jody Gentry led the town hall, is what I know about this is leave is personal, and we all have very different situations. And some of your questions might be very general, and some of your questions may be very specific, and also might be questions that you don't really want to share with the whole group. So we recognize that, and we are ready to take any question that you may have and make sure you have the answer. I tell my family every year, and unfortunately I've told them this too many times, that I don't like surprises. I don't like surprises at my birthday. I don't like surprises at my anniversary. I'm just not one who enjoys a surprise. And I don't like surprises at my workplace either. So I don't want you to be surprised when it comes to leave. I want you to have clarity around what we are moving towards, and to make sure that when we roll this out, that there are no surprises. So I appreciate you joining us today, just so you can understand and have that clarity that I know that we all want. But this is a new logo for us. We are going University Benefits Elevated. We're making some changes to our plans to include leave, and then also to retirement, some of our investment services, voluntary, only voluntary. So if you're in the state retirement plans, there's no changes coming to that. But if you maybe have a voluntary 403B plan, you should have received a letter about that last week. But that's not the state plans, that's the UF plans. But we are excited to be able to look at all of our benefit offerings and make some changes where we feel maybe we've lagged behind. So that is why we are rolling these initiatives out in 2021. We had hired a consultant just to be able to look at all of our different offerings. And the result of that information came back that we could be a little more competitive in parental leave, and also in the retirement space. So with that, that was a couple of years ago, UFHR started looking at what can we do to address maybe where we're not quite as competitive. And so today is the result of us making moves and elevating where we think we were a little behind in our offerings. So changes are coming, and they're going to come in phases. And so I know many of you might have heard, through the different grapevines that are out there, all these changes are coming. They're coming January the 1st. And I'll tell you, initially, we were going to make all of these leave changes on January the 1st. And then over the last couple of weeks, we've heard from employees, from some of our HR partners that this is a lot of change in a time of great uncertainty, because we are also living through a pandemic. And so could we just slow it down a little bit to make sure everybody understands what these new benefits are? A couple of weeks ago, and I am a glass is half full kind of person. So those of you who know me, I'm incredibly positive, and I'm always going to look for the good. And a couple of weeks ago, we had an employee reach out to us who was incredibly frustrated, and frankly a little disheartened and maybe a little angry about some of the plans that they have heard about leave. And it was an aha moment for me to say, everything that we are doing and rolling out is for good, and it is for the good of the employee. And I don't want any of this good to be perceived as bad. And so let's just slow down and make sure everybody can understand the good that is coming. And I truly believe that is what it is. I am an employee advocate. I will fight for the employee as long as I have breath in my body to fight for the employee and to be able to give them great benefits. So please know that is the heart behind all of this. So what you're going to see January 1st, we're going to offer paid family leave, and I'm going to go through that for you. I just mentioned that if you have a UF voluntary investment plan, there's changes coming to that. And then we are moving to a paid time off system. But this is what we're going to slow down, and we're not going to roll this out on January the 1st. We're probably looking at a mid-year 2021 change for that. But I'm going to talk to you about it today because I don't want any mystery around that change. Know that we're here. We're here every step of the way. This team that's on this call, the HR initiatives team, plus I have an amazing team of benefit specialists that are very well versed in that. And we want to make sure that you have all of your questions answered. So let's talk about paid leave. This is the one that we fell behind. As we look at other universities, and frankly, we looked at other companies, what they were doing. So I am thrilled that the University of Florida, beginning January 1st, will provide 8 weeks of paid family leave. Now, let me talk to you about how this is going to work. So you have this umbrella. And you see here my paid family leave is the umbrella, if you will. And under the umbrella, there is parental leave, and there is medical leave. And I'll walk through in greater detail in the next slides the difference between the two. But know this, that you will have access to 8 weeks of paid leave in a 24-month period. So you can take, if you qualify, if you have the need, you can take this 8-week benefit within a 24-month period. So let's look at the 2 different types of leave that we have. So here is the paid parental leave. Now I am thrilled. I have an 18, 19, and 21-year-old kids. I'm done. This is not going to apply for me. Now I have to figure out how to educate all of them. So paid parental leave is going to be for those employees that are just starting their families, or maybe they've adopted, or maybe they're fostering. That can be, they would be eligible for this paid parental leave in those circumstances as well. This is effective immediately. So if someone were to come to the University of Florida and they begin, let's say on February the 1st, and they are expecting, or maybe their partner is expecting, they would be able to take advantage of this benefit, which is a huge benefit, that there is not a waiting period on this. This is effective immediately. You would get 8 weeks, and you see on this graph here, the first 8 weeks, the University of Florida is going to pay for your leave. And then if you are out and you qualify to be out longer, you would be able to use any accrued time that you have. So that time that you might have in your vacation bucket or your sick bucket, or you might go leave without pay. I'm not sure what the circumstance would be, but if you have leave, you could use it after the 8 weeks. Some of you on this call might have taken advantage of a plan that we had, and that was where we would advance you leave for parental leave. So we would give you leave upfront, advance it, and then you have to pay it back over a period of time. So if you are one of those employees, I have good news for you. Effective 1/1/21, that time will be forgiven. So if you're currently paying back leave, or you haven't started to pay back your leave, but you know that's coming, as of 1/1/21, it is forgiven. Now we need you to keep paying it back through 12/31/2020, but 1/1/21, that time is forgiven. You can take this leave within 12 months of the birth or placement of the child. This also can be if you have, my spouse works here at UF, if, which we're so not, but if I was expecting, I could take the 8 weeks, and then let's say, you know, after I return to work, my spouse could also take the 8 weeks to care for the child. Now, this is the part that I am incredibly passionate about. Not that I am not passionate about paid parental leave. It's not just because I'm no longer in that phase of my life. But when we looked at, we were behind on parental leave, and other universities were offering parental leave. We had a bigger conversation. We said, what about the Shannon Edwards, who are not going to have children? But I'm in the sandwich generation. I don't know about you all, but I have, you know, young adult kids, and I have aging parents. And then unfortunately, I'm getting older every single year. It's crazy how that happens. But there are things that are most likely going to happen in my life. And we did not want to offer a benefit that just was for those having children. Even though it's a wonderful thing to have children, we wanted to make sure there was a benefit as well for all stages of life. So we are excited to offer a paid medical leave. Now, this paid medical leave is 8 weeks. Remember, I showed you that visual in the beginning. You've got the umbrella, and you had the 2 things under the umbrella. And you kind of get to use 8 weeks of parental. You could not stack them on top of each other because it's one or the other, frankly, or it might be 2 weeks of one and 6 weeks of another, but you could not have 16 weeks in a 24-month period. You'd only be able to have 8. But for those employees that might need to access this type of leave, it is now going to be available to you. Now, this one is just a little bit different. There is an eligibility period. You need to be here 12 months. You need to have served 12 months of continuous service with the university. You would have to provide certification of this medical leave. So if myself, my spouse, maybe my children, my father had some type of serious medical condition that would qualify me to be able to take this leave, I would have to do some paperwork, fill out something online, but then I could access this 8 weeks of leave. Now, before you access the 8 weeks of leave, there is a 10-day benefit waiting period. And people have said, why? Why you didn't do that with parental? Why are you doing it with medical? Well, parental is a little bit different. When you go out on parental leave, you know that that's coming, and you know how long you're going to typically be out for. There's not question in that. On a medical leave, I may have to have a serious surgery, and I may say, you know, I'm going to qualify for this UF paid medical leave. But first, I would need to use a little bit of my time. I might not need to be out for this expansive amount of time. I might only need to be out for a couple of weeks. And so we're not going to start that benefit until there is a waiting period. This is very normal in a disability type plan. So this is working a little bit like a short-term disability plan would. So for those of you who have a short-term disability or even a long-term disability plan, this is very typical. There's always a waiting period, then the benefit starts. So it would be 10 weeks, then there's an 8-week benefit. Then if you qualified or approved, you could continue to be out longer based on the situation and based on the medical necessity. But there is still the 8-week paid benefit. This is just a summary of this paid leave, but once again, it is parental and medical, 8 weeks every 24 months. Someone said in the town hall last week, so it's only once for your whole career at UF. No, no. You may have a baby in 2021. And then 3 years later, you may have another baby. And then you could have another 8 weeks. Now, if you had a baby 18 months apart or babies 18 months apart, you would not qualify for 2 8-week benefits. You could still qualify for FMLA though. Please know that. They run kind of like 2 parallel tracks. You may qualify for FMLA, but not get this UF paid leave because you've already used it, or vice versa. You may get this paid leave, but not yet qualify for FMLA in the example of a brand new employee who's expecting and uses the parental leave. So they're not the same. They're 2 kind of different tracks, if you will. I mentioned here, and I think I said this earlier, there is the possibility that you may use 2 weeks of one and 6 weeks of another, or 4 weeks of one and 4 weeks of another, what have you. There is flexibility that you can use in these plans. But this is paid leave. You do not have to use your time, with the exception of paid medical leave, where you have that 10-day waiting period. You do not have to exhaust your time before you use this. This is made available to you through the University of Florida. I think this is fabulous news. This is great news that I love to be able to share. So there's no hidden agendas with this. There's no, we're not pulling up any cups and seeing what hides under one. This is all great news. And so I hope you feel that that is good news as well. I can't see the chat. I don't know if y'all are sending any questions in, but I hope that there is some positive comments about that. The next is paid time off. Now, paid leave, 1/1/21. We're moving. Paid time off, this is where we put the brakes on a little bit and said, slow down. Just slow down, because this is the part that people have really had questions, confusion, frustration maybe even about. So I want to make sure we walk through this. Now, what I'd like to also say is this: we want feedback. The overall plan for paid time off, it's set. It's set. So we're not going to pivot and make these great changes after we go through some of these town halls. But there are still a few moving parts that we want to make sure that we have really thought through and completely figured out. And that's why we're doing these types of meetings. We want to hear from you. And because some things that people are saying, we're like, that is a great point. Let us figure out how we'll work that out. We've added a few flowcharts into this presentation based on employee questions. So if you have comments or thoughts, send us an email at HR Initiatives. We'd love to hear from you. But what is paid time off? So I've only been at the University of Florida for the last 13 months. So I am very much a newcomer here at UF, but I come out of the private sector where we've been doing paid time off forever. And so whereas it is new for the University of Florida, it is not new for non-UF entities. Higher ed still very much, many higher ed institutions still very much have buckets of vacation and sick leave. So I understand and appreciate that. So if you're coming from another higher ed institution, I'm confident that they were probably still doing the same thing. But we're making this change. This is progressive. This is more flexible. This provides more privacy. However, it does not give you unlimited amount of time, or it does not take away the ability where you have to get supervisor approval, or this is not where you can just be gone, for weeks at a time without having that as a planned situation. So it's not a free-for-all, if you will. There are still very much parameters around it, but it does provide you a little bit more flexibility, and I'll walk through that for you. So what is this paid time off plan? So as you see on our visual, vacation is sick, they've been a little blurred out here because it's all moving into one paid time off bucket. So there will be a slight adjustment to what you're accruing, and we'll walk through that. This gives us, actually here it is right here, and I've got another slide on it. But for those of you Teams employees, you will accrue 10 hours of PTO bi-weekly. What you were accruing was 6.769 of vacation and 4 hours of sick. So if you're doing the math, you've quickly figured out there is a reduction. And there is a reduction of 0.769 per pay period. And why? Why is because we are able to offer every single employee at all stages of their life 8 weeks of a paid leave. So that is a little bit of the trade-off for this accrual reduction. You are still getting all of your sick, if you will, and there's a slight reduction in what you were getting in that vacation, but it is all going in one pot called PTO. Cash outs upon termination, nothing is changing. And let me say, we're about to go into these slides, you're not losing any accrued time that you have. If you have large amounts in your vacation bucket right now or your sick bucket right now, you're not losing. So as we walk through these slides, please know that. Why is this does this give a little bit more privacy or more flexibility? I don't know if you've ever been in this situation, but I have. So I'll just confess about me. I never take sick time. I've just been blessed and I just hardly ever take sick time. And I don't know about you all who never use your sick time, but you watch these balances just go up and up and up and up. And I'm just one who I'm not going to take sick time if I'm not sick. And then my PTO, you know, I always reserve some PTO time because I never know, what's going to happen. But say your PTO or your vacation, I'm sorry, was kind of coming down a little low, but your sick was way, way up high. And you're like, I really need some more time, but that's in my sick bucket and I'm not sick. But I don't really have as much time in my vacation bucket. So, conflict, what do you do? With PTO, you've got more flexibility. If I want to use my 10-hour accrual to go to Disney World for a day and a half, I can, as long as I've asked my supervisor and it's planned. So there's just more flexibility as it relates to PTO versus that very strict vacation and sick buckets. So we talked about, I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit, but what we were adding, continuing. There's no changes to cash out. You still get your 10 paid holidays. There's still administrative leave. There's still the December personal leave, which I was just shocked when I started at UF that we got that. What a huge gift. There's still the cash out for our team's employees and the sick leave pool. If you're a participant and a member of that, it will continue. We're going to convert to paid time off and we're going to create a medical leave account. And I'm going to walk through that. Now here's an example for you. Andy and Sheila, but if you don't mind, we'll just look at Andy for right now. So this is for illustrative purposes only. What I have learned in doing this presentation is people will email me afterwards saying, you are only going to let me max out you're only going to let me keep 300 hours of my vacation and 1250 of my sick. I have more. You're taking it away. I'm not. This is just illustrative purposes. So Andy has 300 hours of vacation. He could have 302. He could have 260. This is just what we picked to show this picture. And he has 1,250 hours of sick leave. So how this will work in the middle of 2021, when we roll this out, is all of Andy's vacation, all of it is going to go into his paid time off bucket, every single hour of it. And we're going to take 80 hours of Andy's sick leave and put it also into his PTO bucket. Now we're going to have a cap on how much can go into paid time off. And we're still talking through that cap, to be frank with you. So I don't want to be mysterious on that, but we've just had some conversations about what is the right cap. But your hours in this situation, some sick would go in, all of vacation would go in. We have to change our mind, our mindset. It's a mindset shift. PTO is not vacation. PTO is time off. So if my child, if I had a small child who had an ear infection, what bucket am I going to get this time out of? Well, it's PTO, because it's just it's a day trip to the doctor. It's for an ear infection. She's going to have a quick recovery. It's not an FMLA qualifying event. I will use my paid time off. Many times people will say, no, paid time off is vacation. It's not, because remember, we're giving you 10 hours of PTO. That's to be used for personal time, which includes vacations. It includes, small medical issues. It includes just where you need to take that day off because the roof is getting repaired or what have you. That's paid time off. Then in Andy's situation, the remainder of his hours will go into a medical leave account. Now, I'll tell you, the medical leave account is where we've had a lot of questions. A lot of questions of, I don't understand how this will work. So I'm going to do my best right now to explain that to you. Remember, as I just said, you're getting sick time that goes every basically 4 hours. You're getting that 4 hour sick leave accrual that you've always gotten in that PTO accrual of the 10 hours. And then 80 hours, when we make this transition, will go into your PTO. If you have it. My husband and I are pretty new at UF. We haven't accrued very large amounts in our sick leave right now. We may not have 80 hours to move into our PTO balance. So we would be able to take what we have. So if we have 80 hours, all of our 80 hours will go into PTO. If we only have 65 hours, 65 hours will go into PTO. We wouldn't have anything in our medical leave account because we haven't been here long enough to accrue. But as we are here longer and our balances build up, we will be able to accrue time in this account. So how this will work is you've got, in Andy's situation, he had a lot of hours sitting in this medical leave account. So when could Andy use those hours? Well, Andy can use those hours for many reasons, and this is not going to be lots of hoops to have to jump through, but this is for issues that are maybe a little bit more severe than just a one-day ear infection. So if you're out for several days due to a medical issue, you've been quarantined or isolated and you're not able to work from home because of COVID. Let's say you're going to access the paid medical leave, and remember in that visual I showed you there was a 10-day waiting period. You could use your medical leave account for this time. This medical leave account could be used when you have exhausted your 8 weeks of paid parental or medical and you qualify to be out longer. You could tap into your medical leave account. What you wouldn't do is tap into your medical leave account for the 1 days. The 1 days is what you use your PTO for. The 1-day ear infection, the 1-day sore throat, that's PTO. This is the 5-day flu. This is the, unfortunately, COVID-related issues, or this is the surgery that you have to have for you or your immediate family member. This is not just for you. So we did a flow chart. It looks good on my screen. I don't know how it looks on yours, but I just wanted to be able to flow chart this. Actually, Nadia did this, and I love this because it really helps, I think, visually for people to see how you tap into that time. Because we have had people say, you're making it difficult for us to touch our sick leave. Please know, that's not our intention. That's not our desire. We do not want to make it difficult, but you will have to go online, attest to, this is why I need to use this time. So very much like how you use your sick leave now, but you want to access your medical leave account. So are you eligible for FMLA? If you are, then we're going to put you through a little different process. For those of you who have been on FMLA before, you know there's a certification. You know your doctor has to get involved. You know that you can get approved for up to 12 weeks, etc. So we will go through the FMLA process with you if you qualify for FMLA. And then you can access medical leave hours for that time, because many times FMLA is not paid, or you do not have enough, you need to be able to use your time. Now, if you are not eligible for FMLA, you haven't been here long enough. You've already had an FMLA qualifying event that you've used that time, but your reason meets FMLA. That just means that you've got a serious medical condition, that you could be out consecutively for 3 days, or that you're ongoing treatment due to a serious medical condition. So if you meet that FMLA definition, you just fill out a form online. It's very simple, I promise you that. UFHR will see that. It will let your supervisor know that you actually qualify to be able to use that medical leave account, and you put in the hours for your medical leave account. If you don't, If it's not, if you say the reason I want to use my medical leave account is because I want to take a week-long cruise because cruises have finally started back up again, that's not the reason. That's not the reason to use your medical leave account. That's for medical issues. So we may say no, that's not a qualifying event to use your medical leave account. And if your supervisor approved that week-long cruise, you would have to use your PTO for that. We have a visual to summarize a little bit of what I have just talked about, but we showed the current. The current is in gray, and then where we're moving in 2021 is in that orange color, at least on my screen. But we are moving to the 10-hour accrual for PTO, and then we also have the 8 weeks. Now, it says 8 weeks annually on this. It's 8 weeks every 24 months. So you may be able to take that, in 2021, if you need to access parental leave, you'd have the 8 weeks on top of what you have accrued, but it's not an 8 week every single year. It's 8 weeks every 24 months. We want to make sure that you have all the information that you need. Hearing me talk for 30-35 minutes may have just given you just a little taste of where we're moving to, what the plan is, how we're going to move forward with this, but you may have a lot more questions. And so we want to make sure that your questions get answered. So we are going to have a deeper dive and talk more about these leave changes. On Thursday, September 24th, we are going to have one specifically for staff. So if you're able, I encourage you to attend that. You'll receive information about that. So be on the lookout. But we're also here for you. I recognize that many of you, it's not very easy to take a break in the middle of the day, just like for us, it's a little hard sometimes. So send us an email. Make sure that you get your questions answered. What I don't want, and what would make me so disappointed, is after this call, you still have questions and you're frustrated and you don't see the benefit in it, or you don't understand why this is a good thing, but you don't ask us and you don't let us be able to say, no, that's not right. Let us tell you how it actually works. Please give us that opportunity. We are more than happy to do that. If any of you have a voluntary 403B, yet again, not through the state of Florida, through the University of Florida, you will be receiving information from our new vendor, our new record keeper, Fidelity. So if that applies to you, make sure you try to attend one of those workshops, or at least pay attention to that email that is coming out. And then one thing I wanted to mention is we have a new family resource officer here in the benefits team. And the purpose of this individual is we recognize that a lot of families have a lot of questions and a lot of stress. I have always been a working mom, and I remember how hard it was when I had 3 small children and my husband and I were both working, and I was new to an area, and I didn't understand what leave was available, or I didn't know what benefits that we had for working parents at my organization. I remember those days. And so we have set up an individual who's just here to help answer any questions that families might be struggling with, especially given that we know there's a lot of stress right now with the COVID situation as it deals with our working families, with some daycares that are closing. We've negotiated some additional discounts with local daycares and nanny services for those parents that might want to take advantage of that. And so this family resource officer can help navigate kind of all of those complexities with our employees. Here's our email address, hrinitiatives@hr.ufl.edu. Please email us, let us know any questions that you might have, and we are here to answer. We're pretty quick. Between the 4 of us, we kind of race on a daily basis to see who can get those questions answered first. So we welcome any and all of your emails. That is the information that we had to present. But I don't know, Kat or Rebecca or anyone else on the call, do you want us to open up for a few questions, or do we feel like that we've kind of answered all the questions in the chat?
I think it's good if you answer a few questions for folks.
be more than happy to.
I'll just go for some of that I haven't answered. I do also want to point out that Kat, Rebecca Wright, your associate director, Noel, they are a great resource too. So if you guys have any questions, definitely reach out to them and they can help you too. So Catherine, is there a maximum amount of PTO you can accrue? If so, what happens to the access once you hit the max?
So that is the number we are still trying to figure out, of that maximum accrual for your PTO. But let me assure you that whatever, let's just say, may I pick a number? Just, I'm truly picking a number out of the blue. Let's say it's 400 hours. 400 hours is the max you would have in your PTO bucket. So now you're accruing 10 hours. What happens to those 10 hours? They're not going away. They will go into your medical leave account. So that's my situation. I probably, well, I've been here a little bit longer than my husband. My husband will not have hours in a medical leave account. He'll have it all go into PTO. But as his 10 hours builds up, and let's say he doesn't take a lot of time, if his 10 hours keeps building up and he hits my 400 hour that I just gave as an example, after that, my time would start going into his medical leave account to be able to use when he might need that. So we are gonna, you will lose no time. That is not going to happen. And then of course the cash out though still stays the same at 200 hours. All right, so question was asked about when you retire, would you lose those hours? So it's very similar to right now. For many of you who have, you know, let's say you have 250 hours in your vacation and you have 1,000 hours and you're sick right now and you retire. So what would happen right now? You would get 200 hours, 200 of your vacation hours would be cashed out, and then your sick leave does not get cashed out. It will operate the same when we move to this PTO structure. You'll still get 200 hours cashed out from PTO. And then if you have hours in your medical leave account, there's no cash value, just like it is now.
So Danny asked about why the pause on the waiting to go to PTO.
Danny, I love that question because part of us have been preparing for January 1 for the last year. So I struggle sometimes when you pause me. And I talk fast, I walk fast, I move fast, I want to do things. I saw and our team saw and our vice president saw just the confusion, a little bit of anxiousness around all of these changes. And many of these changes are because of the pandemic, right? I mean, we've had a lot of changes because of that. And there were just a lot of changes happening at one time. And it was a lot to take in. Our faculty were really struggling with just all the changes and moving to an online structure and what have you. So we decided as a group under our VP's leadership that it was probably best to just take it a little bit slower to let everybody kind of figure out how this would work. So that is the reason for the pause. Now we have negotiated with the union, with our in-unit faculty, which is our union faculty, and we had negotiated with them. So they might be going sooner, but we'll see how that rolls.
And then Heather asked, if you don't have enough hours in your medical account, can you still take advantage of this benefit? So yes, so the paid family leave, you still would be eligible for that. You would just use for things that aren't covered under that out of your PTO that you accrue.
So Heather, that's kind of my husband's situation, right? He's not going to have hours in his medical leave account, but if something happened to my husband in 2021, because he will have been here a year. I think he's been here a year in November or something like that. let's say something in March of 2021 happens to my husband, and he needs to take time off due to a serious medical condition, he would be able to access the 8 weeks. So he won't have any time in his medical leave account, but he will be able to access the 8 weeks of paid leave.
And then Michael asked, the PTO goes over the limit to your medical leave account. We can't use that unless we're sick for a certain period of time. If I'm sick for 1 day, I would use PTO.
That's right, because Michael, remember, you're getting still the equivalent of what you have been getting in sick time in that 10-hour accrual. And that's where I was saying it's a mindset shift of this PTO is not vacation, it's for time off. So that can be the 1 day. Yesterday, someone called me and said, I have the stomach virus. I said, and you will not be coming into work, because whoever wants a stomach virus to come into work? So they would use their PTO for that 1 day, because they're back today and they feel fine, I hope. But that would not be a medical leave account situation.
And it's Amber. Just to clarify, though, if you did need to be out for 1 day due to an illness that actually meets the definition of FMLA, you could use your medical leave account hours for that, correct?
Thanks, Amber. I appreciate that. And an example would be, let's say, let me think of one. You are currently in the midst of cancer treatment. You have paperwork for that, but that you are on a sporadic leave because you might, be going in for treatment 1 day a week, and then you're back at work the next day, which, my word, all the power to you. I just have so much respect for those situations. So for that 1 day, yes, you could tap into your medical leave account, because that is an ongoing treatment due to a serious medical condition. But the stomach virus would not be.
And then Catherine wanted to know the definition of immediate family. So for FMLA protected leave, immediate family has one definition, but we do provide leave that would come out of your PTO for what is defined is broader under UF's umbrella. So as it is now, you could have used your sick leave to care for, I think, aunts, grandparents are in the immediate family UF definition. It's not FMLA, but you could request to use your sick leave, request a leave of absence. That's going to be the same definition for you to be able to use your medical leave account, the immediate family definition that UF applies for. If it's FMLA protected leave, it's their definition of immediate, which is usually yourself, your children, that's covered.
And I think Nyla asked the question about, upon retirement, the payout. So Nyla, think of it, your payout will now be PTO. So you could get paid out 200 hours from your PTO account. So we're not, after we transition, that sick and vacation mindset changes. And so the cash out hours will come out of your PTO balance.
And I just wanted to remind everyone as we're wrapping up, some of you joined us later, this presentation was recorded. So I'm going to make the recording available to Rebecca, and then Rebecca can share it as needed. But I just wanted to remind those that came on a little bit later that this was recorded. So I think there's a couple more questions here. What I will do is I will save these last couple of questions and then I will respond to you individually if that's okay, because I think our time is about up.
Well, I want to just thank you. I want to thank you for, I see all the participants that are here. So Rebecca and team, thank you for putting this together. Thanks for participating. Thanks for your very thoughtful questions. Thanks for being a kind audience. We want to make sure we're tough-skinned, and so we can handle. I always say, you can say anything to me unless you are going to say something negative about my children, right? Then I'm going to be a little a little bit more difficult. But as it relates to leave, you can tell me, you can share with us anything we want. We don't take it personally because we want you to feel comfortable with the changes. Many of you are in different stages and phases of your life, and leave is so important to you. And so we want to make sure that you understand how to access this time, make sure you realize that there's a lot of great benefits that are coming with these changes, and make you feel good about that. So thank you so much. We look forward to further engaging in conversations with you. We're going to be doing this for many more months. We're going to be a little crazed at the end from talking about leave so much. But if anything changes, it would be minor, and we would make sure that, of course, Rebecca and her team would know that. And but please, if you have time over the course of the next few months and you see a town hall is out there, we encourage you to attend that if you want to ask some more questions or learn any more information. But thanks for all you do. I know that many of you have been here like we have. Some of us here in HR, we've never gone home, right? All through since March, and I know that's the case for many of you all. So we appreciate what you do. We appreciate how you keep this university going, and thank you for everything, and we're here for you in any way that you need us. So take care, stay healthy, have a great day, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon.